The lecture hall at the University of Michigan buzzed with the quiet shuffle of notebooks and the click of laptop keys. It was Tuesday morning, and Professor Linda Cartwright's advanced calculus class was about to begin. Cartwright was infamous on campus, sharp-featured, silver-rimmed glasses, a stare that could make even confident students look away. Her lectures were as precise as the lines of chalk she drew across the board, and her expectations were merciless. She didn't just teach mathematics, she tested who deserved to be in the room. She walked in briskly, heel striking the tile, and without a word snapped a piece of chalk in half. The room fell silent. "Last lecture, we covered multivariable limits," she said. "Today, Laplace transforms." She began to write, filling the board with long, intricate equations in flawless script. Students scrambled to keep up, eyes darting between her hand and their pages. Somewhere in the middle rows, Daniel Reed sat quietly, pen tapping his notebook. Tall, lean, dressed simply in a hoodie and jeans, he rarely spoke. Numbers and patterns came naturally to him, but he never sought the spotlight. Then he saw it, a tiny error in her second line. He hesitated. Letting it go would be easier. But before he could decide, a girl in the front row raised her hand. "Professor, I think there's a mistake." "There is no mistake," Cartwright cut in, her tone flat. The girl's cheeks flushed, and she looked down. Daniel's jaw tightened. Without thinking, he raised his hand. "There is an error," he said evenly. Heads turned. Cartwright's gaze was cold. "Oh? Enlighten me." Daniel stood and pointed. "In the second step, you carried the coefficient incorrectly. It changes the integral limits. This way, the final answer won't match." He walked to the board, erased the flawed part, and rewrote it. His handwriting was rough, but the math was exact. The transform must be applied here instead. Otherwise, the function's integrity is lost. Cartwright checked the steps. No error remained. "Fine," she said curtly. "You corrected it. No praise. No thanks." Then, with a calculated look, she wrote a much harder equation, far beyond what the class usually tackled. "Since you're so eager, Mr. Reed, solve this." The problem stretched across half the board, stuffed with integrals and tricky differentials. She was setting him up to stumble. Daniel studied it for a second, then began writing. His mind raced ahead, each line following the next without hesitation. Halfway through, he glanced at her. "You want the solution in exponentials rather than trig, I assume?" She said nothing. When he finished, the answer was clean and precise. The class was silent until a low whistle broke it. Cartwright examined his work again and found nothing to criticize, except, "You skipped a step." "No," Daniel replied calmly, pointing out the mental calculation he had done. Her lips tightened. "That won't be necessary." She turned away, but the room felt different now. By the end of class, she wasn't finished with him. A week later, she made her move. "Mr. Reed," she said in front of everyone, "since you're so confident, I'd like to invite you to a competition." She explained it was the upcoming University Mathematics Symposium, where top students from around the country would solve advanced problems under strict time limits, and in front of an audience. Daniel understood this wasn't a gift. She wanted him to fail publicly. But refusing would make him look like a fluke. "I'm in," he said. Word spread fast. For the next 4 weeks, Daniel lived in the library, surrounded by coffee cups, textbooks, and scratch paper. Brian, a classmate, asked him why he was bothering. Daniel's answer was simple: "Because she expects me to lose. I want her to be wrong." The day of the symposium arrived at the University of Pennsylvania. The lecture hall was packed. Judges sat at the front, a timer glowed overhead, and competitors from top schools took their places. Cartwright sat in the audience, silent and watchful. The first round was mental math, rapid-fire problems solved without writing. Daniel's fingers flew, punching in answers faster than the proctors could check. The second round tested theoretical application, building proofs from abstract concepts. Here, Daniel's mind found rhythm. Numbers weren't static to him, they were moving structures. The third round was speed solving, the pressure point where most competitors faltered. Daniel didn't. His name rose on the leaderboard. By the final round, only he and an MIT PhD candidate remained contenders. The last problem flashed on the screen: brutal, layered integrals within nested summations, the kind of question designed to exhaust the solver before they reached the end. Daniel's heartbeat slowed. He began writing, both hands and mind moving in perfect sync. His competitor was quick, but Daniel saw something they didn't: a hidden pattern, a shortcut buried in the complexity. He exploited it, finishing with seconds to spare. The buzzer sounded. The judges reviewed the answers. Finally, one stepped forward, the winner of the 2025 University Mathematics Symposium, Daniel Reed. The room erupted. Gasps, applause, murmurs. Daniel just exhaled. Cartwright's eyes found his. She didn't smile, but she didn't look triumphant either. Instead, she gave the smallest of nods. The next morning in class, she began with, "Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge yesterday's results. Daniel Reed placed first in a national competition against some of the best minds in the country. That is no small achievement." That was all. No speech, no glowing praise. And Daniel didn't need more. He hadn't done it to impress her, or the class, or anyone else. He had done it because sometimes the clearest way to change a mind is to let the truth speak for itself.